growingyourgreens.com to another exciting episode for him. Still on my vacation here in Miami, Florida, having a wonderful time. The weather is beautiful today. It's actually supposed to rain, but it's actually kind of sunny, so I'm really happy for that. And the place I'm at today is a business here in Miami known as Ready to Grow Gardens. And their tagline is grow your own food, and that is actually my message also, and I'm glad that they're promoting this message here in South Florida to people. But more importantly, their primary business is involved with installing gardens, whether that's a raised bed garden, whether that's a permaculture style garden, whether that's just edible landscaping around your yard so that you guys could grow food. I know a lot of you guys watch me, and a lot of you guys are still scared of gardening and growing your own food. And let me tell you guys, it's really not that hard, man. You get some soil, you get a raised bed, fill it up, get some good soil, get some plants planted in, and the stuff will grow, especially here in South Florida. But for those of you guys that don't want to do this, that's where Ready to Grow Gardens come in. I know a lot of you guys have a lot more money than time. I'm kind of in the later, have a lot more time than money. But if you guys are like rich and stuff and want to just garden and want to come in and just be eating out of your garden and not have to hassle with it, then Ready to Grow Gardens is a place you want to call. I mean, let me tell you, this morning before I actually came here, my first stop was a local farmer's market, and I won't mention the farmer's market name, but they have a big price guide. And I mean, the prices here in South Florida for organics are insane. Let me go ahead and look up like a bunch of kale, all right? So kale, a bunch of kale organic, $3.60 each. And that's for one bunch of kale. And here's the thing, if you go to the farmer's market and buy kale, as much as I encourage you guys to support your local farmer's market, you know, you get 6 leaves of kale for $3.60 or whatever, how many leaves you get. And once you eat that, the kale is poof, it's gone. It's put through the juicer, it's put in salads, it's put in your blender, it's gone. And there's your money too, it's gone, $3.60. But if you put that same $3.60, you know, into a plant start here at their plant nursery, that kale will grow for a full season, and depending on the kale variety you get, maybe even for a full year. You can harvest 6 leaves off it easily every week, and that will pay you money back, so you have money in the bank. Plus you're gonna have a higher quality food, because even at the farmer's market I was at this morning, most of the food was not local food, unfortunately. It was actually trucked in from other parts of the country, which I think is quite sad. I'm really all for local organic food, and it doesn't get more organic or local than your backyard. So yeah, if you got money, stop buying stuff at the farmer's market, start growing it yourself, and get Ready to Grow Gardens put in a garden for you. Now I know most of you guys watching this video are not in that category, so what I'm gonna do today is actually show you guys how they install some of their raised bed gardens, share with you guys the materials they're using, show you guys the soil mixture, and more importantly, share with you guys the plants that they're using. So if you want to do it yourself, you can. So they focus on doing the whole installation for you. They don't necessarily sell any of the components to do that, except the plants. And they have an by appointment only plant nursery, and that's the main reason why I'm to come here, to share with you guys some of the unique and rare varieties of plants that'll really grow well here in South Florida. If you go to like a big box store, Home Depot, and you just get any old plants there, they may not do well, but they've you know, selected and tested and sell and offer the plants that'll grow good here, because those are the ones that they've been planting in the gardens now for the last 5 years, successfully running this business. So I'm glad that they're open by appointment, or you know, right now they're open Saturdays only, but call to check ahead to make sure they're open on Saturdays. I came here on a Saturday. They open for a few hours every Saturday, because the nursery business is not their main business. Their main business is actually installing gardens for you guys, but I'm glad once again they are a resource for organic plant starts here in South Florida, because they can be really hard to find. So actually the next thing I want to do is I want to spin the camera around and show you guys their little demonstration garden, show you guys what you could have here in South Florida in just a small amount of space. And then we're gonna go ahead and get into actually how they put one of these together. So what we're looking at now is their demonstration garden at Ready to Grow Gardens, and you guys can see it behind me. Basically they have an area up front with like 4 raised bed gardens from actually reclaimed wood, which is really cool. It's actually a reclaimed hardwood that's probably gonna last longer than your house is gonna last. And then behind that, actually they just have row crops. So they, once again, they focus on the raised bed gardens. But if you want to put a row crop garden in, hey, be my guest. Basically what they're doing is they're basically building or mounding up beds in the existing ground to really build a raised bed without sides. That's all that is. Now, if you are new into gardening, I always encourage you guys not to bite off more than you chew, proverbially, which basically means start out small. So build a small raised bed like this so that you can manage and take care of it. And ready to grow gardens, you know, if you don't want to take care of it, that's all right, because they do the maintenance for you. So literally all you have to do is walk out the backyard, front yard, wherever you put your garden, and harvest the food whenever you want to eat. So yeah, I really like that they take care of the whole gamut for you guys. Anyways, let me go ahead and show you guys how they set up one of these raised bed gardens and what they have planted this time of year. So what you're looking at now is a 4-foot by 10-foot raised bed garden. This is a pretty good size to start out with, in my opinion. You know, you could do a 4x4, 4x8, 4x10, 4x12, you know, gets kind of large, but 4x10 is a really good size. In this one, they have it basically planted out in leafy greens with some herbs. They have over 24 different plants in here right now, most of which are kale, collard, and other brassica family of plants. And you guys can see this is lush and abundant. You know, in this bed, how it's actually sitting right now, I could easily, you know, harvest 6 leaves off this plant. You know, one day harvest 6 leaves off that plant, the next day, and every day I go around to a different plant and harvest 6 leaves, or I can harvest 1 leaf off 6 plants to have 6 leaves. That'd probably be a better way to do it, to let the plants continue to grow longer. And literally, you know, as you guys can see, having a garden really pays you money by having higher quality food and a never-ending source of leafy green vegetables. And the leafy green vegetables, I want to remind you guys, are one of the most nutritious foods on the entire planet. I mean, my channel is called Growing Your Greens, and that's because I want everybody to grow their greens and include the greens, the leafy green vegetables, in your guys' diet each and every day. They are very important. My goal is to get 2 pounds of leafy greens in me. Now that's not always possible, but normally I get in about 1 pound, especially when I'm traveling. It's challenging unless I come to a nice garden like this that has a lot of extra greens for me to eat. You know, the leafy greens have the least amount of calories and are loaded with phytochemicals, phytonutrients, vitamins, and minerals. And especially in the cruciferous family of plants like the ones we're looking at here, are anti-disease, so they're disease protective. They can protect you against different diseases, whereas, you know, processed foods, junk foods, and animal foods in excess, you know, will cause disease. And the problem with America today is too much fast food, not enough vegetables. And I don't care if you still want to eat fast food, but make most of your diet fresh fruits and fresh vegetables, and really small portion of your diet, you know, junk food, processed foods, and animal foods in excess, right? So yeah, so easily you can see how really it's gonna pay you money to grow your own food. Next, I wanna show you guys actually how they have this bed set up and what they're growing in, and actually how they're doing it in case you guys wanna do it yourself. So now I'm gonna show you guys how they set up one of these raised beds. Luckily on this trip, this bed's about half planted out, so they haven't actually topped it off and finished it, so it's not like a finished growing raised bed. It's still kind of in transition. So I could show you guys this. So basically what they got is basically 4 pieces of wood they screwed together and put some corner brackets in to make a box. This is very simple. You could go down to Home Depot, Lowe's, local lumber store, get them to pre-cut the wood for you. Make sure you get some, you know, hard wood that's not going to rot out in the sun like the standard construction lumber. But that's all right. Even if you don't have a lot of money, you could use standard construction lumber. I would just encourage you guys to treat it with some kind of natural wood treatment, such as the EcoWood product that I recommend and have videos on in the past that I've used to preserve it so it won't rot out as quickly. Everything will rot out, it's just some things last longer than others. So yeah, build the box, and then you're gonna fill it with a soil mix. So they have a nice, really rich black soil mixture here that is their proprietary recipe. And then they just fill this bed up. It's actually well draining, also holds some good moisture to keep the plants watered properly. And then you basically put it in irrigation system. And what they use here is they use a drip irrigation predominantly, with some sprinklers here to just get some extra coverage as needed. Lately, because it is raining so much, they have actually been able to turn these off. And they have basically a header pipe here. And for me personally, I would recommend, instead of using the small drip tubing stuff like they're using here, I would just recommend using the larger 1/2 inch or 5/8 inch drip tubing and either stick emitters in there yourself or get the ones with the emitters built in. I find that these clog less, a lot more durable, and that's what I personally use myself. So after you get the irrigation in, what you're gonna do is go ahead and you're ready to plant your plants. So I recommend and encourage you guys, if you guys are new growers, to always start from transplants if possible, and try to get the largest size transplants you can, because the larger the transplants, generally the healthier it is and the higher your probability of success. That being said, the carrots they have planted here, they've started by seed, and there's many crops that can easily be started by seed. Carrots is definitely one of them. So they just spread the seeds out, and then guess what? The rain comes, the sun's out every day, and the stuff grows. You don't need to tell the plants to grow, man, grow, baby, grow. They'll grow on their own because that's what they're programmed by nature and designed to do naturally. So literally, as long as we have a good setup in place, and created a good foundation of our garden, like you have to create a good foundation for your home before they build a home, you are going to be successful. So that's what they really focus on here, setting up people with good foundations so that you can get off and growing, you know, without any work. So the next thing I want to do is actually really go ahead and talk to you guys about this wood here, because that's actually quite interesting to me. They're actually using a reclaimed wood. This is probably the first time, a rare time, that I've actually seen people use reclaimed woods to build raised beds, and actually a very durable reclaimed wood at that. So now I'm in their little workshop area where they actually build the raised beds here on site, and I want to show you guys actually the special wood that they're using, which is reclaimed hardwood. This stuff is actually known as Greenheart, and when I saw this originally, I thought this was like something like some kind of epee wood, Brazilian hardwood, that actually I use for a deck that I made. That'd be actually quite expensive to use for raised beds, but a good wood nonetheless. But this is actually reclaimed, so instead of chopping down forests and taking new wood, this is wood that would have literally just been thrown away. So this Greenheart wood, what this was originally from, it was from pilings from docks. So it's like they have these big pilings or big things that go into the ocean and then support the dock, and then they have to replace them every so many years. And this is like the inside of the wood after it's been, you know, milled and whatnot. And then they get it here to use in raised beds. Now this stuff has been under the ocean, man, water, you know, contact each and every day, and hasn't broken down. So this is and actually it's quite dense for its size. It's actually a really heavy wood, not like one of those, you know, pines or Douglas firs that you go. And that's definitely a good sign that it's gonna, you know, be more resistant against decay and also pests and whatnot. So I'm glad they're using that. As you guys can see here behind me, they have basically a warehouse of stacks and stacks of just different size raised beds, whether you're gonna get a 1 high or 2 high, and the different sizes, you know, 4x8, 4x10, 4x12. They come in all different sizes here, and actually they'll make ones to fit your specific, you know, dimensions in your backyard. And of course, when you build them yourself, make the size that is most appropriate for you. Now, everybody always asks me, John, what height should I make my raised bed? So, you know, I recommend generally I like about 12 inches. If you make it taller, you're kind of wasting your time, unless you want to grow something like goba root that gets really tall. You know, you could get away with something like 8 inches, but I really like to go at the 12-inch mark. I just find that a lot better. But yeah, 8 inches will work as well. Last comment I have for them here is that they have a big pile of all the end cuts and whatnot that they haven't used. And there's a lot of nice wood here left, so I really hope that they use some of these small cuts to just make little small 1 foot by 1 foot boxes, or, you know, little planters for people to you know, enhance people's gardens, and even put bottoms on them and sell them as little herb gardens here. So even if somebody has like a balcony or patio, they could have a little garden, you know, made out of this scrap wood that, you know, looks like they've been collecting for a little bit. Next thing I want to do in this episode is actually take you guys around their regular demonstration garden, where they actually are planting extra plant starts that they actually don't sell and actually don't install, so you guys can see how they grow, and I can show you guys some of the best crops that grow here in the winter time in South Florida. So now I want to share with you guys just some of the plants and edible vegetables that are thriving right now here in the winter time in South Florida. Now I want to explain to you guys that there are basically 2 kinds of vegetables you guys can grow here in South Florida, unlike most parts of the country, due to the mild climate you guys have. So you could grow the standard annual vegetables, and these are the vegetables that if you go down to the supermarket, most people are familiar with. Things like the kale, the collard greens, you know, lettuce and celery and carrots and beets and turnips and radishes, arugula. All these kind of things are standard annual vegetables, and those are the ones you guys are all familiar with. Now the class that I personally recommend the most that you guys grow are not the annual vegetables, but the perennial vegetables. The foods that you guys probably have no familiarity with unless you're from some of the countries which they originate, which are from tropical countries, you know, that don't get cold weather spells and frosts and all this kind of stuff. And because of the mild climate here, you know, you're able to grow some of the perennial vegetables. So that's what I think you guys should take advantage of. So this time of year, they're focusing on annuals, and in the summertime, when it's too hot to grow the annuals, they focus on the perennials. So I'm kind of sad I'm not here to share with you guys the perennials. That being said, any time of year you can grow perennials. You don't just have to focus on them in the summertime when the annuals won't grow. I would actually just personally grow the perennials all year long as the majority of my garden, or as landscape plants, and then have a raised bed with the annuals. So I want to first in this little clip here go over just some of the perennial vegetables they have growing, and I hope in future visits they massively expand the amount of perennial vegetables you know, they're growing here, to demonstrate and explain and let people try the new taste sensations and varieties. I mean, they are much easier to propagate because they are often done by cuttings instead of starting from seed, and you know, they grow really easily. And it's sad that most farmers, gardeners, and people into this, you know, grow your own space don't focus on perennials as much as I would like them to. So yeah, let's go ahead and share with you guys some perennial vegetables that I recommend you guys grow here. So the first two perennial vegetables I encourage you guys to grow is one right here. This is known as the Okinawan spinach. This has been popping up in pretty much every one of my permaculture style farm videos that I've actually gone to this trip. And that's because it grows really well. I mean, I don't know if you guys can see, but this is a nice area. They probably planted one plant here and it basically just spread out and took over. So this is a great ground cover. If you have a space, you want to just grow a lot of food, I don't know if I'd recommend putting this in a raised bed because it'd probably take over the raised bed over time. But you will have, you know, copious amounts of food. And I really love these leaves because not only are they green on the front side, but they're purple on the back side. Like some people I've met. But yeah, these are very nutritious and have a really mild flavor. Definitely not as strong as kale to me, and really nutritious for you as well. Another one they got growing right behind me, right there, is the comfrey. This one will also grow really well. That's more of a medicinal, not necessarily a food. So I do encourage you guys to have, you know, herbs as well. And over on this side, they actually have the lemongrass. So besides focusing on the leafy greens, I want to encourage you guys, like if you get one raised bed, do leafy greens. If you get a second raised bed, then do the perennial herbs that are going to grow year round, because literally you can plant them once and you'll have herbs that you will not have to go out and buy little small packets for $2, you know, at the grocery store each and every time you need them. You just have an herb garden outside, and many herbs will grow fine in this climate year round. So next, let's go ahead and share with you guys actually a new herb that I learned about actually this very trip, which is quite cool. So the new herb I learned about this trip, actually right here, right now, a little bit earlier, is this guy. Now you guys can see this, it's like the light green color, and it just kind of goes along the little border here. This would make an excellent ground cover. Also, when you step on it, or when I just sat down right here, it really emits the nice fragrance, and this is a mint. So this is just known as the Florida water mint. So that means it likes, you know, moist places. It has been raining a lot, but there's little small mint leaves. They also make these little delicate flowers that are actually quite edible. You can eat those. And the Florida water mint is actually excellent to use in smoothies and juices and other culinary creations like soups and salads and all this stuff. It's a really nice small leaf. Really nice mint punch. A little bit stronger than many mints, but I really like it a lot, so don't use a ton. But as you guys can see, it grows prolifically. And these are the kind of garden crops I want you guys to grow. Ones that grow prolifically without you having to do anything. I mean, literally you could probably plant this somewhere in your yard and it's probably just gonna take over the little space. You know, maybe put it near like the downspout on your gutter system or something, right? It's gonna love that, and you will forever have mint. You'll never have to buy mint again in the grocery store and get ripped off, or go to the farmer's market and buy mint. I think it's just insane when some people buy certain herbs. When they're so easy to grow, in mint. This mint particularly is a no-brainer, because I mean it's native here to Florida. And actually maybe I'll even try to get some cuttings or a clump to take back with me to grow myself, because I actually like it a lot. Alright, so actually I think they're pretty shy on perennial vegetables this kind of year in the garden. There's one more that I want to show you guys. But on their price list, they do have a number of other perennial vegetables, such as the chaya, such as the bele, edible hibiscus, and Janera procumbens or longevity spinach that actually they don't have available today at the nursery, that I would also encourage you guys to purchase and grow in your garden perennially as hedges or as ground cover. The last perennial vegetable that I'm going to share with you guys today before I get into the annuals is this one right here. This is one of my favorite perennial vegetables, and I only wish I could grow this year-round in my climate. And you guys are so lucky that live in South Florida, you guys could grow it here year-round easily. And this guy is known as katuk or Psoropis. And basically what's eaten are the leaves, so you could just go to a leaf or a branch and take your hand and bring it down, and then you could get a little handful of leaves and then pop them in your mouth. Okay. To me, it sounds like a reminiscence of like peanut butter. But this is a leafy green that's actually quite delicious. So you can make salads out of this stuff, make blended smoothies. But I don't necessarily recommend juicing this stuff in high concentrations. But as you guys can see, it grows into these stalks, and it just grows as a hedge, and you could have endless food, you know, along the border of your property, around the fence line, wherever you want. So I really hope they get some of these into their demonstration garden to really show the power of perennials, because especially in tropics and subtropical climates like Florida here, South Florida, those are the vegetables that you want to focus on the most, with the annuals as a smaller side component. That being said, let's go ahead and talk about some of the annuals that grow well here in the winter in South Florida. So my top pick for annual vegetables are right beside me here, and you guys can see, I mean, these guys are huge, these plants are huge, these leaves are huge. This will grow you guys a lot of food. And these are collard greens, so Georgia southern collards. You know, they're grown originally here in the South, and they flourish in the weather here. So, you know, why fight the system, try to grow lettuces and things like that that can't really deal with the heat and the humidity, when you could grow something like collards that grows really well. And you know, I'm personally not at the point where I'm growing 100% of the food that I eat yet. You know, one day I'll definitely will get there, mark my words. But until then, you know, I like to grow things that are easy. So like if I lived here, I'd grow collard greens. If you want some lettuce, yeah, try your hand at growing some lettuce here and there. But, you know, buy some good organic local lettuce or imported lettuce, you know, hydroponically. You know, and then eat both, right? So you don't have to have only collards and no lettuce, but grow the easy things, because you're gonna not have to pull out your hair, and you're gonna have greens year round, when lettuce can be significantly more difficult, you know, to grow. Just buy it, right? And grow as much as you can of your own stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and cover a few more leafy greens here that are thriving this time of year. So the next family of plants I want to share with you guys today that grow really well here in the winter time in South Florida are the Asian mustard greens. Now, yeah, that you could grow hot mustards, or you could grow more mild mustards like they're growing here. They got things like pak choi and tat soy and mizuna and all these things that really grow well. I mean, you guys can see these leaves are nice and huge, and it's relatively unaffected by pests. They're all grown organic here, and it's just doing really well, you know. So once again, focus on the easy stuff instead of the hard stuff. Now, the next crop I want to share with you guys is the crop that you guys want to grow if you guys are impatient and, you know, wanted to eat out of your garden today instead of tomorrow. So the next crop I'm going to share with you guys are for the guys that are, you know, really like things quick in the bedroom or out in your garden. And these guys are known as radishes. Here's one actually just popping out of the ground. And these guys can be ready in as short as, 15 days to 30 days. So really, you're gonna get a very quick return on your investment of growing your own food. I do encourage you guys to, grow highly colored pigmented radishes whenever you can. You know, ones that have a nice pink color all the way through and through, because those are really rich in antioxidants and beneficial nutrition for you guys. Now I want to encourage you guys, don't forget that besides the root being eaten, which is what most people do, you could also use the greens. Now the greens can be a little bit stronger, and they're definitely eat the greens at their younger stage than the mature, green stage. And I'm gonna go ahead and try this radish to see how they are here today. Look at that color on the inside. This is a really nice, mild radish, not that spicy or hot. They definitely have picked some cool varieties to grow here. All right, so no episode would be complete without sharing with you guys tomatoes. Aside from the leafy greens, I like other fruiting crops such as the tomatoes here. Now, tomatoes in tropical climates can be difficult because not all the varieties will grow really well here. It's really sad. Once again, at the farmer's market this morning, they were refrigerating their tomatoes, and when you do that, you lose the flavor, especially when they're picked too early. So here it looks like, I don't know if you guys can see this, but there's like just a mass abundance of tomatoes on the vine here, and that's because they have certain tried and true varieties that they know will grow well here in South Florida. So those are the ones I recommend you guys to grow instead of just the standard beefsteaks that may not do so well here. Generally, for hotter climates, I like to grow smaller cherry style varieties that tend to do a lot better. Also, if you guys look closely, you'll see here they built all these trellises out of bamboo, so natural construction that they will actually include with your raised bed package. Or of course, if you're doing it yourself, you could get some bamboo stakes and tie them together to make your own trellis. Really simple, real easy. So the next thing I want to share with you guys, besides all the cool crops they have growing, is one of the main components of a raised bed garden is the soil. And luckily enough, there's a soil yard next door that you could get your soil from. And also, they do sell their specific recipe that they put and fill in the raised beds here that their clients have uber success with. So right next to Ready to Grow Gardens is the neighbor here who actually makes compost, and this is predominantly from horse manure and wood chips. Now, while you could get this stuff, I don't necessarily recommend, it's not my favorite to use animal manures because many times you don't exactly know what you're getting. The manure is only going to be as good as what the horses, cows, or pigs, sheep, chickens, goats, or whatever is eating. And in many cases, they may be eating GMO food and, have high antibiotics, use to help keep them disease-free and well. So, that's definitely iffy. So, of course, if you want to get some, and this is the best you could do, I encourage you guys to get some next door. Now, just be forewarned, the quality can vary depending on batch to batch. So if you do choose to get that, I want to encourage you guys to get one that's like nice, rich, and dark, and broken down as much as possible without big, pieces and things in there. So the other thing, if you want, you could actually get the soil that they're making here by using some of that stuff with a mixture of other ingredients to make a higher quality soil mix. So let me go ahead and spin the camera around and show you guys their soil mixing and what they're doing here to make their soil. So this is their soil mixing area at Ready to Grow Gardens. When the next door neighbor has good quality stuff, they'll get actually a batch over here, and then they'll mix that with a plant-based compost that I really like, instead, and then vermiculite and coconut coir and other ingredients, and then make a nice rich mix that actually they grow their plant starts in and fill in the raised beds. And this is the very mixture they've used to grow some of the plants out front that look quite healthy to me. So, they will sell this separately by the bag, or actually they'll even deliver it to you. Now, be forewarned, when you get pre-mixed soil, it is going to be a little bit more expensive. So, I'm still on the hunt for some really good soil here in South Florida, and yet I have not yet found it. So the last thing I wanted to show you guys in this episode, actually the little plant nursery where you guys could actually buy the little plant starts that they put in their commercial installations and homeowner installations, or they just grow out in their sample demonstration garden here. Due to the time I'm here, their nursery is a little bit lower in stock on plants than it may normally be, so I hope they get that rectified soon and get a nice abundant nursery full of perennial vegetables, because I think that's really where the future lies with growing your own food here in South Florida. So the last shot I want to share with you guys today is their little plant nursery. And actually this is what got me here. On the website they said they had a lot of different perennial vegetables available for sale, and then I get here and they have like a handful. I mean, they have some Katuks available, they have the Okinawan spinach, they have of course, things like lemongrass and holy basil, some mints, and some other herbs that'll probably grow year-round, but they don't have as many perennial vegetables as I saw on the website. So if you're coming down for those guys, I would encourage you guys to call first. They have actually plenty of annual vegetables inside, and you know, they have actually a whole bunch. And they're priced right now, I'd say they're priced reasonably for South Florida, but for me, because I'm a cheap ass, they're actually a little bit more expensive and more than what I'm used to paying. But that being said, I'm from the agriculture states on the other side of the country, and buying organic plant starts here in South Florida is actually pretty rare. So in any case, I encourage you guys to support them here, especially some of the more rare plants and the perennial plants that they're growing, that literally once you get them once, you could take your own cuttings, put them in soil, and then you could have endless supply of plants and plant starts for your friends. So investing in perennial plants is definitely worth your money. So the last part of this episode today is actually I would like to go ahead and interview Dylan, the owner here at Ready to Grow Gardens, and talk to him more about why he started this company and what keeps him motivated to keep it going, keep all these plants in stock, and get people to grow their own food. So now I'm with Dylan Terry, founder of Ready to Grow Gardens, and he put all this together. So we're gonna ask him some questions today. So Dylan, the first question for you today is, you know, why did you start this business to help people install gardens?
Well, I graduated college, and I had an art degree, and also was taking care of a garden at college, and it was more of a hobby. And then I moved back home, and I realized that you know, it was tough to get a job. I had a degree in art, and I thought maybe I wanted to be a graphic designer. I did some internships, realized I can't take sitting in front of a computer for, you know, 5 to 10 hours a day, and I really wanted to be outside. And then I got a job doing graphic design part-time and also gardening, and then realized that there was a lot of potential and a lot of people wanting help with gardening and a lot of interest in it. And it was that was about a little over 5 years ago. There were you know, the garden to table movement and local food movement was kind of just growing more and more in South Florida, and so I saw an opportunity to start an organic garden company, and we've been doing it, yeah, just over 5 years, almost 6 years now, and it's been growing little by little and helping people grow food, and you know, starting out with simple gardens, you know, for people that are just starting out, and then if people want to do a bigger garden, or you know, if it's for a restaurant or for a school, sometimes we do bigger gardens. So it can vary, but that's, yeah.
Awesome, man. Yeah, so basically, I mean, he needed a job, and so he took his hobby, made it his job, and that's what I encourage you guys to do. You know, I had a video with Curtis Stone, and the video is like how to make $100,000 on a half acre of land that you don't own. And you know, so it's totally possible to turn your hobby into a business. You know, this is how Dylan here has done it, and there's many ways to do it, whether you want to install gardens for people, help them along, or grow food for people. But it's very important, you know, to really get people connected back with the food and get them out of shopping at the grocery store and that habit, and because, you know, food comes from the earth. So Dylan, I want to talk about our unique climate, or the unique climate you have here in Miami and South Florida, because I know a lot of people here in Miami might move from, you know, New York, Connecticut, or wherever, and come down here, and then they're trying to like grow things and plant tomatoes in the springtime, and that doesn't work so well. So how can you help somebody, you know, grow food here that has never grown here in Miami, because it's almost like back-asswards?
Yeah, so in Miami and in South Florida, the seasons are backwards from what most gardening books will tell you. Probably 95% of gardening books that you could order or find at a library or a bookstore will tell you to plant in the spring, grow things throughout the summer, and then harvest in the fall, with most of the most popular veggies. And so here it's all reversed. Here you plant things once it starts getting a little bit cooler, so usually that's October, November when it starts to get a little cooler here. Then you grow things through the winter, and then harvest the majority of your veggies in the springtime. And then in the summer, there's different things you can do. You can replenish the soil, you can do solarization. Also, there's a wide variety of tropical fruits that grow well. So we tend to focus on growing tropical fruits, and there's different tropical veggies that could also do really well. A lot of them are perennial and very low maintenance. So a lot of these we do as food forest gardens, which are gardens that produce, have a lot of fruit trees and a lot of other edible plants growing around the fruit trees, and also plants that are good for the soil. Plants that are good for the wildlife are also good to incorporate. So we kind of switch what we do based on the seasons.
Awesome, yeah, so I really am into the perennial vegetables. Do you want to share some of your favorite perennial vegetables that you like to grow here that'll do good for people, you know, over the summertime?
I love Okinawan spinach. That's probably my favorite tropical spinach. I like it more than Malabar spinach. That's another good one, but Malabar spinach doesn't really do well in the winter here. It kind of tends to make seeds. But Okinawa spinach looks really attractive. It spreads out if you need a big plant, and it can fit in with your landscape as a more ornamental plant also. The undersides, the tops of the leaves are green, and the undersides are really vivid, brilliant purple, and that's probably one of my favorites. Cranberry hibiscus is another favorite of mine. It also isn't as productive in the winter, but in the summer it's one of the best tropical greens to add to salads. There's quite a few of them. Those might be my top two, and I'll try to think of some others, but those are some really good ones.
Awesome, awesome. So why is it important, you believe, that people should grow their own food?
Well, more and more we're learning about problems with our food system. You know, you don't know a lot of the time what is being put onto the food that you're eating at or buying from the supermarket. You don't know what's happening to that land or what ecosystems are displaced based on, you know, those farms being put there. And you know, on top of that, transporting food from one side of the country to the other side of the country burns a lot of fossil fuels, and you know, a lot of times foods are actually brought in from the other side of the world. So you know, the more you can have of your diet grown as locally as possible, you know, the better for the environment. Also, it's a great way to connect to nature. You know, it helps people get outside more. We're in a time where people are spending way too much time glued to screens, TVs, you know, iPods, computers. You know, we're just focused on technology, and we're further and further becoming more removed from nature, and we're trying to reverse that. We're trying to get people outside, get people eating healthy. If they're gardening, they tend to really enjoy enjoy eating what they're growing. So it's a great way to connect to nature and be outside and, you know, help the environment. And you know, it can be a social thing too. You can do a community garden or a garden with friends, and just something I started doing as a teenager, and I've, you know, really loved doing it, and started out as a hobby, and you know, it's become a nice way of life and a way to spend almost every day.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I do this. I spend half the day in my garden, and I spend half the day inside on a screen. But
yeah,
at least I'm outside half the day. And you know, I know you guys gotta have a job for a living, and maybe you want to do something like Dylan's here in your area, you know, and help people install gardens and grow food and teach people about, you know, real food. And that's really cool, like I'm doing online with all my videos. So Dylan, I know Ready to Grow Gardens is here in South Florida in the Miami area to help you guys grow your own food if you're scared to do it yourself, or to, you know, take it to the level that you need. So, you know, they could do the full install and take care of the maintenance, upkeep for you guys, but they could also just come in and install it and train you guys a little bit so that you guys are off and growing and get you guys the right plant starts to start, or that, as I showed you guys, they have soil that is available here and even plant starts. Now, I know that you're only open by appointment only on certain days. So you want to explain that to everybody that may live in the local area that wants to drop by?
Right now we're only open on Saturday, and that is from noon to 4. The reason is that during the week we are busy installing gardens and doing maintenance on gardens, and right now we're still a small company, and eventually we may grow and have more regular hours. But right now it's just Saturday from noon to 4. And during the summer things might be a little slower. We may change the hours, but it just depends. During the fall we may have longer hours too, because that's the busiest season for us, is the fall and the beginning of winter.
Awesome, awesome. So how can somebody get a hold of you guys and learn about your schedule and contact you if they're interested in putting in a garden or just getting some plants or some soil or any of the other services you offer?
Well, my number is 786-436-7703. That's 786-436-7703. that's a good way to start. Also, our website has a lot of information. So if you want to see pictures of our gardens or information about how we do our services, the website is www.readytogrow.com with hyphens in between the words. So it's READY-TO-GROW.com. We also have an Instagram account that's Ready to Grow Gardens without hyphens. And we have a lot of photos of our gardens if you want to see photos of our gardens. We also have a Facebook page that's Ready to Grow Gardens South FL. So those are the best ways to get in touch. And if you want to just stop by our nursery and take a look at our demo garden, right now our hours are every Saturday from noon to 4.
Awesome, awesome, yeah. I definitely enjoyed my time here. I want to encourage you guys to stop by if you're here in the area, pick up some plants and check out their amazing demonstration garden to get you guys motivated about what can be grown here in South Florida. I mean, it is really easy to grow anywhere, wherever you guys live, but you need to learn the certain practices that work. And you know, they've determined the ones that will work here because this is where they grow. I know the ones that will, you know, that work in California and Nevada because that's where I grow, you know, predominantly. But I get to come here and see what they grow, and then I just get to build upon my knowledge of what will grow and the more tolerant plants, and that's what I really tried to focus on. I did visit your guys' website. That's how I learned about him and why I came out here today. And I want to say that they have a wealth of knowledge on their website. I mean, the thing that was most valuable to me are the plants, the edible plants that can be grown here in South Florida, and the seasons. So they have a lot of annual crops, and you know, more importantly to me, the perennial list with links to, you know, further information about some of the plants. And that's a list that actually can be very difficult to find. So I'm glad that they provide that. So I want to encourage you guys to visit their website and check them out if you're definitely in the area. Now, if you guys enjoyed this episode, you know, here that I made today, hey, please give me a thumbs up and let me know. I'll come down next visit and be sure to give you guys an update on their garden and how it's progressing and how it's changing over time, over the seasons, when I'm able to come. Also be sure to check my past episodes. I have over 1,100 episodes now teaching you guys all aspects of how you guys can grow your own food at home. You know, I have at least 2-3 dozen videos now from and me being in South Florida that directly applies to the people living in South Florida, so information you can use. And also be sure to click the subscribe button right down below to be notified of my new and upcoming episodes. I have new and upcoming episodes coming out about every 3 to 4 days, and I still got a few more videos to make here in South Florida on my vacation. So once again, this is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep on growing.
Thank you.
All right, this is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. Today another exciting episode for you. I'm coming at you here from South Florida, and let me tell you guys, it's a chilly day here in South Florida. It's like in the low 60s.